Hey guys, welcome to another video from Sustainable Success. So as we mentioned in our last video, we are trying to make a series of video presentations about the different things that we might be experiencing as students during this COVID-19 pandemic. So today we'll be talking specifically about loneliness, because Anita and I, we've both personally experienced and witnessed how social distancing can make us feel really isolated and underappreciated by our normal community. So we want to give you guys some more insight into why we feel lonely and how common it is right now. And hopefully that can reassure you guys of your situation too.
One question that researchers have asked for many years is why do we feel lonely? What they have found is that loneliness is a similar feeling to hunger. When we feel hungry, we act upon our need for food, but when we feel lonely, we typically act upon our need for social connection. In the 1900s, a psychologist named Abraham Maslow famously developed the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Although there have been some alterations to the pyramid as time has passed, the foundation has more or less stayed the same. The hierarchy recognizes different needs to be more or less important than others, and it recognizes belongingness and love needs to be a lower level need, which means that it should be satisfied before we attend to other needs such as self-esteem or self-actualization. Most people dismiss loneliness as a superficial feeling that isn't that important to be attended to. However, next time you feel lonely, remember that seeking out social connection when you feel lonely is just as important as eating food when you feel hungry.
For me, I think my most vivid memory of feeling loneliness was when I first came to my high school. So for an introvert, I felt like I really liked feeling a deeper connection with people, and I like having more extended and more meaningful conversations instead of just like knowing people on a surface level. And I feel like a lot of you guys can probably relate to this feeling. So when I first came to my high school, I felt like everyone was really nice and friendly, but it was really hard for me and for them to open up to each other and kind of have deeper conversations. And that somehow just made me feel like I couldn't belong in this community, and I couldn't find a group that I could really trust and that I could like really belong to. So I really let that mindset get into my head, and I kind of created a vicious cycle where I was really exhausted trying to find new friends, but at the same time I was feeling like I wasn't doing enough to find new friends. So like it just kind of got me into a really bad mindset about making friends. But now that I'm thinking back, I think the main reason why I was struggling so much and why I was feeling so lonely was because I was being too forceful on myself, and I wasn't really acknowledging why, like the deeper reason why I was feeling lonely. So we will explain this a little bit later, but I think the moral of the story was that you really should think about what really makes you lonely instead of blaming the situation, because in my case, I didn't really acknowledge the fact that it just naturally takes a lot longer for me to feel like I could trust somebody and feel like I could be really comfortable around people. Now we'll be hearing from Anita's story.
As cities have been shut down and governments imposed stay-at-home policies, the feeling of loneliness has inevitably arisen. More than ever, people are feeling distant and isolated, both physically and emotionally, from other people. I definitely felt this when COVID-19 still had a large presence in Shanghai. Adjusting to online school specifically for me was very hard because I was unable to see my friends, and that was the main reason why I enjoyed going to school in the first place. So with online school and being unable to see my friends, I felt a noticeable decrease in my motivation and my sense of purpose at school. There were a lot of small things that I found myself missing during my time in quarantine, such as walking to class with my friends, studying with them, and eating with them. And I'm sure a lot of other people can resonate with this as well. Luckily, I'm able to see my friends now, but for people who aren't able to, this feeling of loneliness is still very persistent. Before we outline some ways to cope with loneliness, let's take a look at where our Concordia students were at a few weeks ago regarding loneliness.
So we conducted a survey in our high school a few weeks ago, and it turns out that almost everyone has felt lonely at some point in the past few months. So although some experience it a little more frequently than others, this graph shows that it is really normal for us to feel lonely during this time, and we should never feel guilty or blame ourselves for feeling that way. And rather than dwelling on the fact that we feel lonely, we think that it's much more important to just know how to accept that this is a very natural part of our life and like a natural part of our the fluctuation of our emotions. And it's much more important to learn how to have control over our emotions rather than blaming ourselves or blaming the situation. So when you feel lonely, we think that the first biggest step that you should take is to take time to acknowledge that feeling and to learn why you're feeling that way. So this could be journaling to yourself or even just talking or thinking to yourself. And going back to the story that I gave about my experience with loneliness, in that story, my main problem was that I expected to find a really close-knit friend group immediately, but in reality, it takes a lot longer for me to feel completely comfortable in a new environment. And in reality, I was also missing my friends from my old school. Once I knew that was the reason, I was a lot easier on myself, which actually helped me to become more comfortable around my new friends. And once you know why you feel lonely, it's also very, very important for you to accept and forgive yourself. So as we mentioned before, you should never blame yourself or feel guilty for being lonely, because it's really natural when you're going through changes. And make sure that you are also reminding yourself that there are so many other people going through the same things, even just in your own community. Because now I'm a junior in high school, and when I talk to my other friends about their freshman year experiences, they would often tell me that they have also felt really lonely in their freshman year. So it's very likely that even a lot of the people that are really close to you or the people that you see every day are also going through the same emotions. So never feel like you are going through this alone.
Most times, however, being introspective just isn't enough, and you have to start acting externally. One tip that we really recommend is exercising, because it doesn't only take your mind off your worries, but is scientifically proven to make you happier. Of course, it's not healthy to distract yourself from your emotional needs, but exercising is a great way to pass the time if you can't see your friends. Another thing that I personally recommend is indulging in a book series or a TV show. Sometimes being invested in the characters of a book or TV show is similar enough to feeling emotionally invested in real life. Luckily, I was in quarantine with my family and my pet, and being with them really helped me feel less lonely during quarantine. Spending quality time with my family specifically was a luxury that was presented to me during COVID-19, because on a normal day-to-day basis, I don't see them a lot. We don't have a lot of time to spend actual quality time together. So what I found myself doing was watching TV and watching movies with my brother and baking with my mom. Now, if you're an extrovert and really feel a strain on your mood and your energy when you're alone, the same tips apply. However, as somewhat of an extrovert myself, there are a few tips that I also recommend. The most obvious one is to reach out to your friends. Don't worry about feeling needy or feeling clingy, because your friends most likely are missing you as well and want you to reach out to them. Due to current technology, it's so easy to reach out to your friends, and there really isn't an excuse to not ask your friends how they are doing. Some things that I've done with my friends so far is watch movies over FaceTime, eat over FaceTime, work out over FaceTime, study over FaceTime. There are so many things you can do. And if you're in a different time zone or you just can't call your friends, another thing that I love doing is making gifts for my friends and just keeping them until I can give it to them. Just thinking about, what they would like and reminiscing about your friendship is not only a super nice thing to do, but it's also very therapeutic. We hope that this video can help you come to terms a little bit more with your loneliness and give you some inspiration as to how you can connect with your friends while you're in quarantine. If you like this video, feel free to follow us on our Instagram @Sustainable Success Project for similar content, or keep up with this channel.